I just filmed this entire video and the mic wasn't on. So here we go again. My name's Lucy, also known as ThatCarnivoreNurse on Instagram. And I finally pulled myself together to make a YouTube channel. Apparently not enough because I didn't turn the mic on, but oh well. This video is just going to explain more about myself and why I came to the carnivore diet and why I now promote it on Instagram. There's two main reasons, two main things that happen in my life. One is my personal experience with eating food and being on this planet, and the other is obviously my professional experiences as a nurse and working within modern healthcare. From the personal point of view, I went through a very restrictive period of eating when I was a teenager. I was about 17. I'd just gone to uni. I went to uni quite young. So I moved out and I was just doing anything I wanted. So that meant eating a lot of junk food and drinking a lot of alcohol and just being a student, which was all fun until I realized that I had gained a little bit of weight. Not that much at all. I'd always been quite a slim person, but in my head, it was the end of the world. I was very insecure when I was younger. Still am, but you just deal with these thoughts differently, I suppose. So that led to a very restricted period of eating. I was vegetarian and I found any reasons I could to just avoid eating food. And this led to a lot of weight loss, muscle loss, fat loss, not good, health loss. By the end of it, it was probably about a 5-month period. I was in a very bad place physically, mentally. I looked awful and I felt awful. And I was confused because I'd met all my goals. I'd done exactly what I thought I wanted to do, but no. I realized I needed to make some changes. So that left me with the question, okay, what do I eat? How do I fuel my body correctly? What foods should I eat to feel good and heal? That led me down the nutrition rabbit hole. I always knew I should be eating whole foods, but I really thought that the answer was plants because that's what we're told. So I ate a lot of legumes and pulses, beans, what else? Salads, vegetables. I was eating the rainbow, that's what I used to believe. And I felt better because I was just eating more food. I just needed more of anything. Every morning, my breakfast used to be porridge with an entire apple and almonds and chia seeds, flax seeds. I thought I was the healthiest person on this planet. I was so proud of myself. But what I was noticing is after a good hour after having this breakfast, I could be falling asleep. I would be like nodding off at my desk, and I was about 20 at the time, and I was just thinking, why is this happening? I'm having world's healthiest breakfast. So I was confused. So I couldn't help but question that. And then whilst this was all going on, I was obviously training to be a nurse. I'd been working in quite a few different health departments by this point, and I was seeing so much chronic disease. But everyone was just getting managed. No one was getting better. And that confused me. So I had this natural curiosity to understand why people were ill in the first place and how can they actually get better, because I'd never seen that. I also thought that type 2 diabetes, heart disease, these chronic diseases, they were inevitable for everyone. So in my head, I kind of thought, okay, I need to know when I get type 2 diabetes, I need to know how to not have type 2 diabetes because I wanted to be healthy. That's kind of thought I was having because I thought these were inevitable. So these questions came together with my porridge that was making me fall asleep to realize the importance of diet and the major impact that they have on how we feel day to day, but also the long-term outcomes of our health. With my porridge, I realized that I was just having hypoglycemia. My blood sugar was going all the way up and then crashing all the way down, and that was why I was feeling so tired. So both these areas of my life brought me to ketogenic diets. I personally started eating much lower carb. I got rid of the porridge and the apples and stuff and started eating more eggs and beef and bacon and cheese, but also loads of vegetables because I was hung up on vegetables. I thought I had to eat vegetables. I thought fiber was essential. The idea of not eating them didn't even cross my mind. Like, you have to eat your vegetables. That was such a truth to my soul, which is so funny now. I started feeling much better after incorporating lower carb. My energy was more stable. I was enjoying the food more as well. It was just, I was liking it. I then had a placement with the type 2 diabetes nurse specialists. I left very confused. The message I got was, you have type 2 diabetes, but that's okay. Eat whatever you want. Eat the carbohydrates, eat the cake, eat the bread, eat the pasta, just cover it with insulin. I sat in on so many one-on-one consultations with patients, and that's exactly what they were told. And I couldn't really accept that in my logic. It didn't make sense to me. The whole time, all I could think about was, why don't we remove the carbohydrates? These people have a body that can't tolerate them. Why are we not just removing them? Coming out of that placement, it really made me realize that the way I was viewing health was definitely not mainstream at all. I also had another placement in renal HDU. So these are quite ill people. These are people that have acute or chronic kidney failure and require something called dialysis. So this is when you get a machine, a huge fancy machine, and you attach someone up to it, and the machine will take all of their blood out of their system, filter it through a artificial kidney, and then give the blood back once it's been filtered and cleaned, just like what your kidneys do. And I always find it kind of funny because people are just like, wow, this machine is amazing. Like, look, it can do that. I'm like, yeah, that is pretty amazing. But what's more amazing is the fact that we are all born with 2 of these machines perfectly made right here and right here. That's amazing. Modern medicine is trying to replicate something that is perfect. And I think we need to remember that. Yes, modern medicine is amazing that they've done something like that, but our body is even more amazing. So looking after the even more amazing machine should be the priority, but unfortunately it's not. I worked here for a while. As a student, I was there for 3 months, and then I worked on the NHS bank as a healthcare support worker before I registered as a nurse. And what blew my mind a lot there was the amount of junk food that the patients would eat. They were being served it by the hospital, but also just on their own accord. Or family members and friends would bring it in for them, or they would order delivery to the hospital bed. And it would just be crisps and Coke and vapes. Like, it was insane. One of the main causes of chronic kidney disease and failure is type 2 diabetes. So this placement was really seeing the trenches of chronic disease and where it can take you if you don't change your lifestyle, really, and you let these diseases get out of hand. So many other patients were chronic dialysis patients. They're on dialysis for the rest of their lives and have potentially been for years, 3 times a week. They don't have any legs because of diabetes. They're overweight. The quality of life is very poor. And they're on dialysis, eating a packet of crisps, and then I serve them macaroni, cheese, and ice cream. And it just doesn't make sense. What are we doing? Why? When you are actively giving someone something that you know is the reason why they're ill, it's a very strange place to be, especially when you are there to try and make them not be ill. You're trying to improve their health. I became extremely fascinated in ketogenic diets and dietary intervention for disease management, or disease treatment, should I say, and remission. By my last year in uni, I wrote my dissertation on, my question was, what are the barriers and facilitators for implementing a low carbohydrate diet for the treatment of type 2 diabetes in adults? Because I understood that from my own research, by the way, everything I think about diet and all my understanding of nutrition is self-taught, self-researched. I've looked back at my notes and I've had 1 lecture in university, in a 4-year nursing course, in a quite a good university, one of the best in the UK for nursing. I've had 1 lecture on nutrition. And I looked back at my notes. This was in first year, so the very start of the course, and it was the food pyramid. That's pretty much what it was. All my opinions have not been taught to me through a university. I have come to my own conclusions through my own research, applied with my own insights and observations from life. Anyway, so yes, with my dissertation, I understood that people were putting their type 2 diabetes into remission because they could address the root cause of why they had type 2 diabetes in the first place, remove the carbohydrates, and actually heal. And I understood that, but then obviously I'm like, well, why have I never seen that in practice? Why have I been working in healthcare for 4 years and I've never even heard the word low carb, let alone see it implemented? So I wanted to research this and put it into a dissertation, send that to the uni. So during my research for this, I stumbled across Dr. Paul Mason's video on fiber, and mind-blowing. I love that video. Recommend it to absolutely anyone that loves vegetables, because I was so hung up on this fiber thing. The way he lays things out, he's an extremely well-spoken man. He's really great. It made so much sense to me that maybe fiber isn't essential. Maybe it's not even a nutrient. Maybe it's an anti-nutrient and we do not need to have it, and perhaps we'll feel better off without it. That was the first time when I properly understood what a carnivore diet was and then wanted to know more. So I went down that carnivore rabbit hole. Dr. Chafee's podcast, PlantFree MD, I had a slight addiction to it for a bit. I've listened to every episode about 3 times. I love the ones when he's speaking to real life patients, talking about how carnivore changed their lives and healed their diseases. I just thought it was so amazing to hear that, because I'd never seen anything remotely close to that in my 4 years of working in healthcare to that point. So of course I had to try it myself. I was like, okay, I'll just do 30 days. At this point, if I was to put a word on it to describe my way of eating, it was like ketovore. It was mostly just, eggs, chicken, beef, bacon, cheese, and then like cucumber, olives, avocado, tomatoes, like the basic vegetables, nothing that crazy, still very simple. It wasn't like a very dramatic shift to carnivore, but still like cutting out fiber and not eating any plants. That was still quite a big shift for my gut and for my brain and my mind to wrap my head around. It started for a month and I'm still doing it a year and a half later. I think the reasons why people go carnivore and then the reasons why they stay carnivore tend to be different. I much prefer the digestion now that I don't eat fiber. I didn't realize how much fiber bloated me until you remove it, and then suddenly you're like, wow, this is nice, just no chronic bloat all the time that you didn't even realize you had because you don't have a compost in your gut anymore. So that's nice. The energy levels are great. The satisfaction from the food, that's probably the biggest one. Before carnivore, I was still eating ultra processed foods, or trying to eat ultra-processed foods in moderation, but I am not a moderator. As much as I wish I could be, I'm not. I can't eat just one. I have to eat the whole bag, and then I have to find the next bag. And then I'm even hungrier after the next bag. It's a vicious, horrible cycle and experience, and one that I thought was something I was going to have to live with for the rest of my life, potentially. Even if I wasn't actively eating these foods and having those behaviors, the thoughts would still be there. And I don't even know what's worse. You're equally as captured by these foods, whether you're just thinking about them or you're actually actively eating them. I don't know which one's worse. Well, probably eating them still. I didn't like either. And it wasn't until I went carnivore and completely cut out all of the plants, all of the carbohydrate, and replaced that with the most nutrient-dense, satisfying foods, was I able to actually break free from the desire to want these foods. I never thought that would be possible for me. I had this thing in my brain that was like craving these foods and would dream about having them, even if I didn't eat them, because I knew they were bad and I knew what would happen if I ate them. And I would have to try very hard though to not eat them, and sometimes I wouldn't be able, like willpower wasn't enough. But now I don't need willpower. I don't have to try to avoid these foods anymore. I just don't want them. The desire is gone. And that for me is a big enough reason to stick to how I eat. It's not hard to eat this way for me. It's my natural default at this point, and I know it's for the best. So I started carnivore myself in March, and I finished uni. I registered as a nurse, and I made my Instagram account in December to just share about carnivore. I didn't really have a plan about where it was going to go. I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't. I wanted to give my family a break. My gosh, they'd hear me all the time. I needed to put it somewhere else. There was a bit of a moral dilemma, I suppose, when I go to work and just disagree in my head with what I was actively doing or seeing other people do, and the type of treatments people were getting and the advice they were getting. I disagreed with it. We have a disease epidemic. We're calling it a disease epidemic, but it's a toxicity epidemic, and it's being driven by our lifestyle, mainly ultra-processed food consumption, carbohydrate consumption, and seed oil consumption. And we are trying to fix this with medications. We are never going to cure type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancers, strokes, heart attacks, dementia. God knows how long the list is, without addressing the root cause of these problems. But unfortunately, we have a system that's been set up to only symptomatically treat these problems. And this is the main reason why I made my Instagram account. I wanted to highlight this problem because it is a huge problem. One, for the health of patients. They're not getting better, and they're actually getting exacerbated in a lot of cases. And then two, the NHS is completely unsustainable. The amount of money that healthcare costs people is unfathomable. You don't even want to think about it, and something needs to change. And from my point of view, one of the most effective and efficient changes that we could make is addressing the root cause and educating people on how to not become a patient in the first place. I get slightly, not frustrated, but maybe I do get slightly frustrated when everyone says we need more resources, we need more resources, we need more money in the NHS, we need more nurses, we need more doctors. And I just think, no, we don't, because we could do that all day until the cows come home. We don't need more resources. We need less patients. We need more healthy people. It's a win for the patient because they're not a patient. It's a win for the staff because there's less patients. It's a win for the other patients because there's more resources for them. And then, of course, you'd be saving money, saving resources. That money could go elsewhere. But obviously, there's many reasons why that's not the case. But let a girl dream. I think I've rambled enough. I've got chicken in the oven. I think I'm going to go eat that now. Thank you for listening. I'll keep making videos. Let me know what you want me to make, because I don't really know. And we'll go from there. Okay, bye.